You're listening to Podcast PXN,
a video game podcast,
delivering a player experience news.
Let's go! What is up, guys, and welcome to Podcast PXN, episode 334. I am one of your hosts, Daniel Prindle, aka Dan is DTM on still Twitter, and I am joined over Discord by the resident Embark Glazer and my fellow Spartan, Gage Dempster, at Gilbo Biggins.
Reporting for duty, sir. Ready to glaze.
Glaze on, soldier. And thank you to everyone watching us live and participating in the chat. Just as a reminder, we are live each and every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on youtube.com/@podcastpxn and twitch.tv/podcastpxn as well. The topic of the show this week, Gage, is: are we getting a PlayStation DRM change on the way? Some shit's happening behind the scenes. So let's go ahead and jump right in and find out what all of this means. It started early in the week this week. There started to be a lot of scuttlebutt online because people were finding out that any PlayStation game purchased digitally after March's system update will reportedly require an internet connection once every 30 days to validate the license. If the console stays offline longer than that, the games will not launch until you reconnect. So that's how it started. It was a screenshot from PlayStation support where someone was asking about it, and PlayStation support responded with, "Thank you for your interest on the 30-day timer that is being applied to all new purchases. Affected content, games purchased digitally after the March 2026 update. Offline functionality. If the console does not connect to the internet within 30 days, the license expires and the game may refuse to launch until a connection is restored. Primary console restriction. Setting a console as primary does not bypass this 30-day requirement. The 30-day is a valid period and is not a sign of an account restriction or anything like that." So everything started with that. There was kind of more speculation that people were jumping into as well. So we had some people speculating. There's a lot of confusion right now about the PlayStation 30-day DRM issue. People are calling it a random bug or saying it only affects PS Plus games. It's not a bug, and it's happening to regular purchases. This is from Mohammed Adel, who is a software engineer and electronics repairman. He posted all of this on X, the Everything app. No, it's Twitter. And said, "I investigated what happened under the hood to see exactly what Sony did, and here's the technical breakdown. First, Sony didn't change anything on the console software side. The expiration timer has always existed to protect subscription content. What changed is how the server issues your rights information file, the digital license your console uses to verify you own the game. To test this, he compared the hex data of the RIF file for the exact same game across two accounts, one bought before March and one bought recently. For the old purchase, the end timestamp offset is set to a whole bunch of shit that it translates to no expiration date. For the recent purchase, that infinite value is gone, and the server now actively populates the end's timestamp to expire exactly 30 days out." And he says, the bottom line, Sony is simply reusing an existing feature. Any new digital license you get from Sony's servers now comes with a 30-day check-in requirement baked directly into the license file. So, with all that being said, there was a little bit of an additive story here from 2K that I'll throw in as well before we talk about this first part of it. Which was that 2K was reportedly adding 14-day online check-ins for games after the de novo crack, which I believe is the anti-cheat system that's in some newer games, like I believe Resident Evil Requiem is one of the games that uses this. So this is from Tom's Hardware that's reporting this, saying games like NBA 2K26, 2K25, Marvel Midnight Suns will use authorization tokens that will only last for 14 days, forcing players to log in to get a new token every time. If you don't have one, it said your game simply won't launch, even if you own a genuine copy. So all of this happening all at the same time. The initial like reactions that I had to this was like, holy shit, like this is the exact thing that Microsoft wanted to do in 2013 with Xbox One, with the whole fucking online requirement, online check-in. Like, yeah, this initial stuff coming out, I was like, what the fuck's going on here?
Almost verbatim exactly what Don Matrick was spearheading. Yeah. And coincidentally enough, what Sony got a lot of good PR for making fun of back in the day.
Right. Yes. So it's like, yeah, like what are we thinking in this moment, Gage? Like we're fucking like, what the fuck's going on? I don't even understand. Like, yeah, I don't know what caused this. Obviously, we'll talk about what Sony's actual response is for this and what it actually is. But like all of this initial stuff, I was like, what is happening?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what spurred it on, of why they needed to update anything. Like what was the deciding factor, or like, yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah, very, very odd. And then it just became odd that we never got a response from Sony, like immediately, like especially for something like you said, something so imperative like this. Like they were making fun of Microsoft in 2013 for this very thing, very publicly. Like you would think they would come out immediately and say, oh no, that's not what this is, we're gonna explain it and like detail the whole thing. But like, yeah, we didn't get anything until literally today, which we'll talk about here in a second. Okay. Let's pull that up. Yeah. I had originally put something what we think it is, but obviously I don't need that anymore because we actually have an official statement from them. So, let's see. Okay. So, while this is coming from GameSpot, by the way, they got an official comment from Sony. GameSpot says, while unlikely to be a tangible issue for most players, there are definitely use cases that could see a PS4 or PS5 disconnected from the internet for extended periods of time. According to a statement Does It Play gave to Kotaku, the license checks may have been introduced to combat refund scams, but were designed to convert into unlimited licenses afterward. That appears to be the case, with a Sony Interactive Entertainment spokesperson telling GameSpot the following: players can continue to access and play their purchased games as usual. A one-time online check is required to confirm the game's license, after which no further check-ins are required. At least one major gaming company has wasted no time chiming in. Retailer GameStop published its own statement on the situation, emphasizing that this problem will not happen if you purchase physical games. I think what's interesting to me on this is I think the biggest issue I had with it is after the 14 days, there's a window. So you have to register your copy of the game to the internet after the 14-day window, or else you don't have that renewed license that's unlimited. So, like, my question is like, there was a twofold issue with Microsoft's DRM policy when they talked about it in 2013. The one issue was that you had to check in every 30 days to verify that you own the game. But the other problem that was added onto that was once you purchased a game, you didn't actually own that game. So like I guess my only concern with this would be similar situations to what people were concerned about before, where if someone is, let's say, joining the military and buys a console, downloads a bunch of games from the PlayStation store to their console, and then goes overseas with it and doesn't have internet access, those licenses will expire after the 14 days, but after that, or I'm sorry, after the 30 days, because they won't have connected after the initial 14-day window. So my concern is in that 14 to 30-day window, if someone doesn't have the ability to connect to the internet, does that mean that they can no longer play their games? And obviously, this is like very specific scenarios we're talking about, but I do think it does bring up a little bit of concern for that.
Yeah, I think what's happening is that, I mean, well, obviously we got a concrete response from Sony, and it's to get around refund sort of scamming, which makes sense. That's fine, and I'm betting that they probably looked at the scenario you're describing, and then looked at the numbers of like how often do we think that's going to happen? Can we take the hit of that section of people having a problem with this? And then they obviously decided that yes, it's worth it to just get around this refund scamming, which is interesting. I didn't even know that was possible. So like, what, you refund within the first 14 days, and then you have access to it for 30 days, and then what, you get to play it for 30 days instead of 14? I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me either. But that's if Sony feels they're losing any kind of money at all, then obviously they're going to try and do something like this. I wonder, does this have any implications for like with sharing games, like sharing game library? I know that's not as comprehensive on Xbox or on Sony as it is Xbox, but I wonder if that has any implications for that, because that was another big concern back in the day, right? With the Xbox One DRM proposed DRM sharing.
Yes. Yeah, and I guess with game sharing, that's a little different, because I think, don't you have to be connected to the internet if you're not the home console for that? So
that is true. You're right.
So I think that wouldn't necessarily be an issue, but yeah, it is kind of weird. Like you said, I would be interested to know the numbers on like what they're seeing, like how much loss they were seeing from this exploit of people refund scamming, because I didn't even know it was a thing either. Like, obviously we know that Steam has like an incredibly gracious refund protocol, because we buy slop games all the time and then refund them immediately.
We buy gems. We buy hidden gems.
Yeah. But yeah, I didn't even know that this was like a thing on PlayStation, or like even know that it was an issue that was happening. So it would be nice for them to have like a little bit of transparency there and say, yeah, we've been noticing a lot of these transactions happening lately, and this is what we're doing to combat it, and explain like what's happening. And I think maybe it was just not received super well, because they didn't give us like that heads up of like, this is what's changing, this is why we're changing it, and this is what's happening. And it's probably only going to affect a very small amount of people, but it's still something that probably should be shared so that people don't freak out.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. So not as dire as we thought it was going to be at the beginning of the week, for sure. So I guess that's a positive out of all of this. It's
an unexpected positive, because I definitely did not, even though you and I said that we didn't know exactly what spurred this on, as soon as I saw these early reports, I definitely fell for it and was like, yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. Time for things to get worse. I'm surprised they came out and said, no, here's a totally reasonable explanation for it, and we're all kind of like, yeah, okay, I guess that makes sense.
Right.
That's arguably the more shocking part of this story.
Right. But nobody freak out. This is an Xbox 2013. We're gonna be fine. At least for now.
For now.
For now. They do have the functionality now, I guess, to change that in the future, but
right.
But Hopefully it doesn't come to that. All right. Well then, Gage, let's jump on over to the PXN news of the week. Kind of continuing off of our topic last week. It was like poor timing. I would kind of wish this was in last week's episode, but it obviously didn't happen yet. We have the return of Xbox that we've been continuously talking about, with Asha making a bunch of changes, and that continued this week. Tom Warren posted last week after the podcast, Microsoft is bringing Xbox back and scrapping Microsoft Gaming. During an internal all-hands meeting today, Microsoft's new CEO announced the return of the Xbox organization and lots more. And then Asha shortly after that posted a Twitter post saying, "We are Xbox," with a picture of her standing with Matt Booty with the team, and she has a nice little Halo 3 Believe jacket on. Some would say the best Halo game. Let me just say.
She doesn't even know what Halo is. Somebody just handed it to her 3 seconds before the photo shoot, and she said, "Sure."
You know what? I'm fine with it. Just fucking repping it.
Because the person that gave her that jacket knows which is the best
legend.
Halo.
Yes. Right. Oh. So she also linked to an article here from the Xbox Wire saying, "We are Xbox." So I'm going to read some of this here because there are interesting highlights in here. It talks about the history of Xbox and all of that. She says, "We have work to do. Players are frustrated. New feature drops on console have been less frequent. Our presence on PC isn't strong enough. Pricing is getting harder for people to keep up with, and core experiences like search, discovery, social, and personalization still feel too fragmented. Developers and publishers are asking for more too. Better tools, better insights, and a platform that helps them grow faster. At the same time, a new generation of players are coming online with different expectations. Their time is split across games, media, and everything else competing for attention. These changes are happening as the industry reshapes around us. Console remains large and stable. Windows now represents more players and hours and is increasingly where competition is most intense. Players have access to more games than ever, even at as the cost and time to build blockbuster titles continues to rise, putting more pressure on what gets made and how risk is taken." Kind of going down a little bit here. What does Xbox become in this next era? Xbox will be where the world plays and creates. We will build a global platform that connects players and creators everywhere. Console is at the foundation, delivering a premium experience, and cloud brings that experience to any device. You can play where you want, and your game's progress, friends, and identity stay with you across console, PC, mobile, and cloud. Xbox will be built to be affordable, personal, and open. We will offer flexible pricing, so it's easy to get started and keep playing. The experience will adapt to you, letting you customize how you play, helping you find what you'll love, and connecting you with the right people. Our new North Star will be daily active players. We will execute this through 4 priorities: hardware, content, experience, and services. Hardware, stabilize Gen 9 as a healthy and high-quality base. Deliver Project Helix to lead in performance and play your console and PC games. Lead in comfortable, personal, high-performance accessories. Build a strong ecosystem that expands choice and reach. Going into content, grow and extend an enduring portfolio of franchises that players love. Evolve our third-party partnerships and strengthen our 5-year slate. Expand into other markets, including China and mobile-first audiences. Maintain and grow in live games and long-term stewardship. Elevate creator-centric platforms like Minecraft, The Elder Scrolls, and Sea of Thieves. Experience. Fix the fundamentals for players and partners. Make Xbox the best place for developers and creators to build and grow. overhaul discovery, customization, social, and personalization to connect to the community. And lastly, services fortify Game Pass with clear differentiation and sustainable economics, return the business to durable growth with strong cost discipline, make cloud feel native, fast, and reliable across TVs and low-cost devices. Use I don't know what that is. M&A? Use M&A deliberately to accelerate growth. I don't know what that is. That might be corporate speak. Going down to stuff that we care about, though, our best work happens when the full stack moves together. Microsoft Gaming describes our structure, but it does not describe our ambition. So we are going back to where we started and changing our team's name. We are Xbox. We are a high agency culture where wild and wonderful ideas thrive. Our job is not to smooth over our differences, but to connect everyone into something greater than any one studio or product. We have to be honest about where we are. We're a challenger, and meeting this moment will require pace, energy, and a level of self-critique that should feel uncomfortable. At our best, we earn our every player, protect our art. I don't need to read all of that. But lastly, she closes with, over the last 5 years, Xbox and the industry have been through an unimaginable amount of change, and this team has continued to deliver through it for our community. Thank you for staying focused on what matters. 62 days in, we're proud of how we've honored our commitments of great games, return of Xbox, and future of play. And we got more information as well, saying that Xbox was reevaluating exclusivity and other things as well that Phil Spencer had decided to change. We got, let me stop there. The whole Microsoft gaming thing. I really hate going back to it, but I really feel like a lot of these things are just like things that were like set up for her to like just knock. Like, it feels very set up at this point, 62 days in. I love what she's saying, don't get me wrong, but like Microsoft Gaming switching to Xbox, like, I don't see, maybe I'm crazy, I don't see a world where Phil Spencer goes into Satya's office and is like, yeah, I love that we're called Microsoft Gaming. Like, I really feel like this is like just a continued move to like position her to try to help her succeed early on.
I mean, if you wanted to do and like I said, for some of this stuff, my hunch has been the same as yours. I guess there's an alternate way to look at it where maybe the relationship between Phil and Satya was sort of like strained at the end. So Phil was sort of saying these things, and maybe Satya was maybe instead of like Satya thinking to himself, yeah, I will do that, but I'm going to save it for the next person. Maybe it wasn't as simple as that, where it's just like Asha has a lot of the same ideas that Phil had, but because Phil had done some damage towards the end, Satya just wasn't in the mood to hear it, and now he is all ears. Who knows? Who knows what's happening? But yeah, I agree with you, right? There's no way that Phil, behind closed doors, Phil Spencer was like, yeah, you know, this whole Xbox thing, actually, we should probably stop associating ourselves with Xbox and call ourselves Microsoft Gaming. Like, there's there's just no way. I'm excited about, and I know Xbox always says this, and even if it's physically true, it hasn't manifested it in a real way that like is beneficial to players. But I do like that they're saying here that they plan to lead in power and performance. Obviously, the Xbox Series X, I think on paper, is more powerful than the PS5, but as we all know, it didn't really equate to real world numbers in that sense. There's a lot of games that perform better on the PS5 just through their engineering and how they designed the console. But the fact that they're at least mentioning that power and performance is, I mean, those are the two key points that they mentioned. So that's exciting to me because, like I said, we were talking about the implications of DLSS and all that stuff, and it's like I will be much more okay with DLSS if it means that this presumably $1,000 machine is gonna then have some power redistributed to other areas that aren't upgradable and aren't sort of software updatable to have those components last longer. And so if this is a hint at that is what they're doing, and they are going to make this thing sort of a beast that you can use for quite a while, then I'll be very excited for that.
For sure. And it being able to play PC games for a long time too, like that is huge. Okay, so continuing on here, Tom Warren also posted this as well, that Asha also mentioned during her all hands meeting that the teams are meeting daily on Project Helix, and that there will also be bi-weekly Xbox Series X, S, and X console updates until the end of the year. Seemingly continuing to invest in that OS, which is interesting. We also got a little bit of a leak that Microsoft's new Xbox Game Pass Starter Edition has leaked. It's going to be bundled with Discord Nitro subscriptions, which was what we talked about last week. Some kind of Discord collaboration. Here it is, at least leaked anyways. And it includes 50 plus games and limited cloud streaming as well. So you get 10 hours of cloud gaming each month with 50 games included. We don't have the whole list of games yet because this is just leaked. But seemingly trying to compete maybe with NVIDIA a bit more on that with a cheaper subscription model. And then I'll just go over these last two things and we can talk about whatever. Microsoft is also giving Xbox employees an Xbox email address, which is part of scrapping Microsoft Gaming in favor of Xbox and the We Are Xbox effort. They will keep their Microsoft email as well, but they will now all be assigned Xbox emails once again. And lastly, we have our end of quarter earnings report for Microsoft, giving us information here, more stats. Gaming revenue for Xbox is down 7%. Content and services has declined 5%, and Xbox hardware has dropped 33%. Massive drop there. It will be interesting to see if all of these changes that Asha is making and has made will start to make any kind of positive influence in terms of their sales numbers and that kind of stuff for the next quarter.
Yeah. I wonder if behind closed doors it's very much like if they've totally capitulated this generation and been like, we're not going to see. I wonder if Satya is aware that he's not really going to see much of a change until this next generation,
right?
Because I don't see these numbers turning around. Obviously, like maybe they could sort of stabilize, maybe, but like I don't see an improvement happening before the next big push of the next console.
And I think like the start of the generation of the next console is going to be so important because like so many people said the same thing about Series S and X, like being the start of a new generation and like being well positioned. But I think the problem was that generation was starting and we weren't getting the fruits of all Phil's studio acquisitions yet at that time in 2020. Because most of those acquisitions he made in 2018, 2019, and then of course Bethesda and Activision came later. But all of those fruits of his labor didn't get to pay off for the Series S and X launch, so it kind of fell flat and then kind of held through the generation. Whereas now you're well positioned, you have a lot of fucking first-party studios. You should be able to have a really rock solid launch whenever you decide to launch Project Helix.
I would be, and like some of those studios that you just name dropped, if I was Asha or unfortunately Matt Booty, I'd be going around to some of these studios and being like, okay, because like we like as much as we all want these things next year, we are probably looking at 2028 at the earliest, which is like as of right now that is 2 years away. So I would be checking up on everybody, and like if you have games that are ready for late 2027, maybe consider like if it's a really good like we don't know anything about the next Elder Scrolls, like you guys have tons of cards in play that we need to start aligning these launches together because you're right. I think first impression is going to be really important with this next generation.
I still think there's a chance that it launches next fall, but I think a lot of it's going to depend on what the market's looking like in terms of like hardware, because memory prices are insane right now, and a lot of prices of stuff are getting insane right now. So it's going to be interesting to see their exact timing on it. All right. That is our news of the week, Gage. Let's run over some street meets here. I have one here. Fairgames is reportedly struggling in internal playtests as it struggles to find the fun, quote, in the latest pre-alpha playtest. Not sounding too good for Fairgames, Gage.
It's not. And like I don't want to say the thing and just be like, oh, you know, surprise, surprise. I didn't have much hope to begin with. I thought the reveal trailer was a little lackluster, but obviously, of course, the human element. You never wish these things to happen. You kind of hope that every game that comes out has a little bit of fun. But yeah, I mean, this is maybe like one of the last games of Jim Ryan's PlayStation, and I think it's rather fitting that this sort of live service push is they're having issues with it. I mean, this is the thing, right? What Naughty Dog couldn't make it happen, but Fairgames is going. Like, come on, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, and I think that's what it comes down to. Like, you got to just let the developers do what they want to do and not force an agenda down their throats, because at the end of the day, if they don't want to make something, it's not going to be a good product. Like, yeah. Very unfortunate. All right. Let's jump into the quick bites here. Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced is official, Gage. Of course, you drafted it, and I counterpicked it after rumors said that it would be delayed to next year. What the fuck, Ubisoft? But it is indeed launching on July 9th. There's a bunch of changes coming for the remake. So in a detailed presentation here, they decided that they wanted to focus solely on the single-player story of Black Flag's pirate-turned-assassin Edward Kenway, meaning that the game's Freedom Cry DLC has not been integrated, its original multiplayer mode has also been ditched, and its previous playable modern-day sections have been excised. Some small modern-day story offering will still be included. It sounded like, though, the exact details of this are unclear. One thing's for sure, if you won't be wandering around the offices of Abstergo Entertainment as you once did, something that leaves unanswered implications for the game's bloodline-related story. So yeah, interesting. No DLC, so no Adewale. It's going to be strictly Edward Kenway, which I'm not super upset about. Like, that was the meat and the potatoes of the game, obviously. And I think visually this game looks pretty. And I'm interested with like some of the more modern combat changes that they're making to the game. So far, I think it's got potential, but I think we need to subtract a lot of points from it for cutting content. I think nobody should subtract any points. I think if anything, we should add points because they're being lean and smart with their resources, which is something that Ubisoft has not been doing in the last 15 years. No, I mean, visually, I think the game looks really good. It's cool that it seems that they've kept, because I know that they had the voice actor in, and people were kind of wondering, like, did they reshoot scenes? Did they not? It seems like that they're keeping the same mocap and original voice over where they can, and for some of the new content, they just did new ones. Which I think I like that. I think
I think you're keeping all of the original performances. You're keeping the physicality of the original actors, and you're just giving them a fresh new model with sort of like animators touching up the facial animations to like modernize it a bit more. I like that a lot. Yeah, I mean, not including the DLC is a little bit of a bummer. Hopefully, it will come later as an option. I mean, obviously they're double dipping, and that's not great for consumers if you've already bought it. But
Right.
I know a lot of people like that DLC. It's one of the more beloved DLCs in the Assassin's Creed franchise. So, yeah, I'm excited to get back into this, and I know we gotta shout out Glenn. Glenn has 100%ed this game on like 4 different platforms. I think this is one of his favorite games of all time. So I know he's gonna be jumping into that, and
I'm with him.
I will be too.
Yeah, I'm with him. I love this game as well. In fact, I'm pretty sure this game came out at a weird time that I think it came out before the new gen consoles, and I think I played it on 360 and then transferred over to Xbox One. They had like the free upgrade or whatever, and I continued my play time on there, if I'm remembering correctly. Because they had some of those where you could upgrade for free or whatever.
Right.
But it is interesting that they're also retooling some of the like pain points of the game, like eavesdrop missions. They talked about how it was not fun, where you barely got caught, and then you fail the mission, you got to redo it again, like slowly follow this dude across the entire fucking map. They tweaked that and changed that so that no longer happens. So yeah, it's very very cool to see these more modern enhancements made to the game, and even the Jackdaw got some upgrades too, like different cannons and stuff. So very excited to jump into the Caribbean and roam around that world again.
I mean, we always talk about Ubisoft needing like a Capcom style renaissance. This is how they do it, right? That you do it by doing really smart, well thought out remakes of your older games, and then your teams, I mean, either the teams get their sort of second win, and they're sort of retooling all these systems that were really popular, and then they get ideas on how to bring these systems back. Or if the teams are kind of already there and it's head office that needs it, you make a very smart, faithful remake, and it sells gangbusters, and it tells the powers that be, like, oh, maybe people do want simplified, focused games where we don't try to do 100 different things at once and just fill it full of endless content. They want these really sort of succinct, focused, tailored experiences. Either way, it could work out in both ways, and I would love this. I would love for Assassin's Creed. Obviously, Assassin's Creed 1 would be an awesome remake too. And then move to your other franchises, Splinter Cell, Ghost Recon. Like, let's see some more Capcom style remakes of some of those games. And I honestly think that if they just did that for the next 5-6 years, Ubisoft will be in a very different place.
Agreed. Yeah, where the fuck is that Splinter Cell remake? It's supposedly coming. When's it coming?
Right.
Kind of on the back of what you were talking about, though, that leads into our next quick bite. Assassin's Creed Hex is apparently undergoing some changes. As reported yesterday, Hex's game director, Benoit Richer, recently departed the game and Ubisoft itself for reasons unknown. His loss comes swiftly after the exit of Clint Hawking, who was Hex's creative director originally, which that was disappointing for me because Clint Hawking made a lot of the better Assassin's Creed games. Following a major internal reshuffle at the top of the franchise. So moving on here, there is a leaker in a post on social media that claimed Hex has gone through changes since Grusden's promotion, including a decision by him to get rid of everything that was magical in Hex. For example, we were supposed to control a cat. Well, ultimately, that's been canceled. Obviously, the games had like magical elements in it before, like with the Apple of Eden and that kind of stuff. More so in the older games, they don't really necessarily go into that as much with the more modern games. So I don't know how I feel about that. It might have been a nice change of pace to have something different in there. But the same leaker also said that Ubisoft was working on an Assassin's Creed 1 remake, like you just mentioned, Gage, or had been a couple of years ago, with no word whether it's been canned in the years since. A remake of the original is not a surprise, seeing as Ubisoft confirmed that it had multiple remakes, not just Black Flag, in the works. So, and they made Mirage not that long ago, which is based in the same area. So, wouldn't be that crazy to say, hey, let's take some of these Mirage assets and remake Assassin's Creed 1.
Right. I'm trying to hold on. I just totally blanked out on the first part of that.
They're getting rid of the magical elements for Assassin's Creed Hex.
Yeah, getting rid of the. So it's interesting that he uses the he's like magical elements. For example, controlling a cat, because like in like the last few Assassin's Creed games, you could control the eagle as a scouting mechanic,
yeah.
but I feel like the game doesn't really like consider that magic. Like it's kind of just like a hand waved away, as in like, you know, you're not really the eagle, and that information is just kind of being relayed to you.
Yeah.
I don't know why that had to go away, because that seems like in a game. This is a minor thing to most people, but I actually feel like this shows how Ubisoft doesn't really like see the layout that they have.
Yeah.
You have a game about assassins whose main skill or differentiating skill set is that they're nimble and they're parkour heavy, and you're gonna have the first game to introduce the idea of like playing as a cat, and then you could do some light like you know, platforming mechanics with the cat. Like the layup is right there. Like what do you do? That's such a weird place to draw the line.
Yep.
If they're removing magic from the story element, that one makes a little bit more sense, because like if the whole point of like the Salem witch trials is to say that actually no, the priests were right for like burning all those women at the stake, that's kind of a weird, that would be really hard to make that pull off in a satisfying way, I think, because that's the real world history that's tied to that is like, well, no, these obviously weren't witches, but so that to me makes more sense, getting rid of that element, because that would be quite a weird plot twist.
I think before you continue, I think one counter to that though could be that like the whole reason like in this universe, the whole reason the Salem witch trials happened was because the witches weren't actually like, you know, magical or powerful or whatever, but they had like a piece of Eden or like one of those Assassin's Creed lore items that makes them powerful. And then you're like, oh, that makes sense now. They're able to do these things because they have these items, these artifacts or whatever.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it comes together. So far, like again, slightly worrying, but it's hard to like, to judge it based off alone of like, based on like, oh, you could play as a cat, but now you can't. Like that's not enough for me to be worried about the game at all. But it is at the same time a little bit of like, wait, that actually kind of makes a lot of sense. You guys should have left that in there. I think that kind of speaks to like the spirit of the assassins, but you know, whatever. I just hope that we get a like a proper vision and a decent story and thoughtful gameplay mechanics. That's what I want.
Yeah. Could you imagine how cool that would be to like sneak into like a building with a cat and you're like marking people so that you can do like a stealth run through the building without them and you're just running around as a cat? That'd be cool.
Or just missions where you have to collect something from like a warehouse, right? And instead of going into your assassin, the cat goes in and like you pick up the pouch of coins and run off with it or something like that.
Oh,
just there's a little bit of like there's some synergy that could happen here.
Sure.
And then like you turn it into like a little bit of a thing where it's like there's different animals to like, yeah, you can do a quest line that results in you getting the eagle, and like the eagle has its own set of bonuses. You have a quest line that ends up with you getting the cat, and the cat has its own set of bonus. Like, you know what I mean? There's different things you can go with.
True. Very, very interesting.
A dog that helps you in combat. The dog doesn't have any stealth mechanics really, but like, you know, it'll join up and do a finisher if you're surrounded by enemies. Come on, just a little something.
Come on, call us up, Ubisoft. What are we doing?
Come on.
All right. The next quick bite here, Gage. Battlefield is possibly getting a movie? Question mark. It is under discussion from Mission Impossible director Christopher McQuarrie. That would be kind of cool. With Michael B. Jordan as the lead.
I think we discussed this off air, but
We did.
it's gonna have to beat the Battlefield movie that already exists, which is the third act of the third Transformers movie. If it can top that, then we're set. If it can match that, we're set, actually.
We have one last mission for you. Create an amazing Battlefield movie. All right. Moving on here. Shuhei Yoshida suggests that Sony will struggle to recoup budgets without porting their games to PC. If they were releasing new AAA games day one on other platforms, I don't think that's a good strategy for a platform holder like PlayStation. I'm not seeing any proof of them changing their strategy this generation, but if they are changing, it's going to be interesting on how they are able to maintain the investment on the big budget games of the first party side going forward. Very interesting, because Sony reportedly was kind of thinking of doing the opposite. They're kind of going back to being exclusive, maybe coming to PC long down the line, but it'll be interesting to see if it pays off for them, or if like they're going to regret this in the future when they have to start laying people off because their games aren't making enough money for Sony corporate.
Again, like you've already made not only just like a precedent with it, but you've acquired a studio that does really good ports. Like that's all they're known for, is porting your games to PC. It's so weird to signal that you're going to take your foot off the gas now. Again, the bulk of that work is being done by a dedicated studio that you bought to do said work. Very strange to me, but
The Last of Us Online director has former colleagues messaging him to say the game was the best multiplayer game ever. He said, quote, "It's wild how many of my ex-colleagues still message me today saying how amazing The Last of Us Online was going to be. Still the best multiplayer game they've ever played."
I believe him. Because again, the formula is there. I could see how creeping around with your friends, throwing beer bottles to distract clickers so you can go get some good loot and get out of there on time. That all sounds great. I really would have loved this game. I just know it. I just know it.
I would have loved to have seen this game at least. Like, it's surprising to me that nothing's leaked. Like, we haven't seen any leaked footage from what this game was.
Right. All we have is like, there is stuff in the Last of Us 2, in the files, like the data files and all that.
Yeah.
And there's stuff in there for different tiers of body armor and different tiers of backpacks, but like that's it. That's all the nuggets we got.
Yeah. Crazy. All right. Next quick bite. Valve is working on Steam Deck 2 officially. There's still no release window for it, but a lot of what we're doing here will be learnings that build up to it, they say. And they also announced their new Steam controller is coming May 4th. So you can go ahead and get that right now. Go get it. Are you getting one, Gage?
A Steam controller? I'm thinking about it. I am actually thinking about it.
It has magnetic thumbsticks, 4 haptic motors for high definition rumble, 35-hour gameplay charge. It has the Steam controller puck that people have showing low latency wireless connection, and you just magnetize it to charge it. So yeah, there you go.
Gyro aiming, trackpads.
Trackpads. I'm very curious on how those trackpads like feel.
That's the thing. Like if I could, if this controller makes playing like games on mouse and keyboard somewhat, even just like somewhat possible, like could this controller be the thing that lets you sit down on the couch and play like an RTS game? In which case, that alone is kind of an exciting thing where it's just like, yeah, let me just kick back and play like a strategy game. Yeah.
I never thought of that. Yeah. It does beg the question too, like what Xbox will do with their next generation if you can play all your PC games, but like not all of them are supported by controller or, need mouse and keyboard or mouse specifically, like you're saying, for RTSs. Very interesting.
I mean, if they have, picture it with me, Dan, if they're doing the Xbox Helix, when they do the reveal, if they end up mentioning Steam by name, if they try to like, do like a collaboration and say like, oh, and you can use your Steam thing, do they come out and say, and by the way, the Steam controller is totally compatible with the Xbox Helix? That could be kind of big.
I could see that. Yeah. That would make sense. All right, the last quick bite here, Gage. Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick doesn't yet know the price for GTA 6 yet, saying that Rockstar is currently focused on making the most spectacular piece of entertainment on Earth, which I believe him, but I sure hope they don't try to fuck people on the price. I mean, this game is going to be worth whatever they charge, but it's like... I was going to say, what price is fucking people on the price? Because I know if Christian was here, he would dig his heels in and say, this game needs to be $79.99 and that's it. Yeah. I think I have a more nuanced take, which is that video games, relatively speaking, are cheaper than they used to be, even though it doesn't feel like that because of our economy and the way that, late-stage capitalism is hitting all of us right now. I think you and I think we did talk about this on the podcast before. You and I would be willing to pay more than he would. Right.
But like if this game comes out and it's $99.99 USD, based off of everything that this studio has made, the last 4 games the studio has made, to me as a consumer, I still think I'm getting a pretty good deal.
Yes. It is more nuanced, like you're saying, because I would pay a lot more than $100 for this game. But
me too.
But the concern is if they do put this game at such a significantly higher price, the precedent that sets for the future, it does concern me a little bit because it could possibly put us in a situation where it does fuck the consumer because you may have, Call of Duty, whatever, that charges $100 going forward, or
but does the blame really lie with Rockstar for that? Like, obviously, I see what you're saying.
That's
Rockstar
fair.
Doing it will be the first domino to fall,
right?
But like, it's not Rockstar's fault that like Ubisoft's gonna try to pull that shit with the next Assassin's Creed game. That's you. That's still on you, the consumer, to be like, well, actually, I don't think that game is worth this, so I'm not gonna buy it.
That's fair.
And I'll wait till it's on sale. Yeah, you're right. It is tricky, and that is almost certainly what will happen. By the way, if this game launches at $99 USD for the standard edition, you know damn well that next year Call of Duty is going to do the same thing,
right?
And it's on us to be like, no, I'm not paying that, and have the sales go down. Unfortunately, I don't think that'll happen, but
unless they do something out of the box, I think we would both agree that Call of Duty is most likely not doing something out of the box next year, but if they do something crazy that we don't expect, then sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's jump over to Fantasy Critic Check-In here, Gage. Our Fantasy Critic Check-In, we have one new item in our pickups here, Gage, and it is once again Halo is Evolved publisher, my publisher, picking up a game called Orbitals with a bid of $3. I've been seeing a lot of people talk very positively about this game, and so I jumped on it.
Orbitals,
yep. So I jumped on it. That means I only have 2 open slots left to draft or pick up as of right now. But I still have all of my drops available to me. So we'll see what happens. We also have updates here. Saros has officially released as of tomorrow, but there are reviews already out for it for Christian's Magpie 512, and it is doing very well. It is sitting in at 89 OpenCritic, giving Christian 19 points for Saros. That's huge. And then I also have TMNT Empire City, which is that VR game that I picked up last week, and it also comes out tomorrow, but no reviews yet. So, and honestly, I thought about this, and I'm like, honestly, I wouldn't be upset if I get 0 if it doesn't get enough reviews, because like there's not many VR games coming out this year. I'm like, a 0 would be a win for me under that category.
That's true. You're not getting any deducted. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, fair point.
So those 2 games both come out tomorrow. And then looking ahead, Mixtape comes out on May 7th for Christian's team as well, Magpie 512. Forza Horizon 6 fast approaching on May 19th for uncreator.gov, which is Gage's publisher. And then we got Yoshi and the Mysterious Book on May 21st for me. And then we have Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight on the 22nd of May for Gage's team. And 007 First Light on May 27th as well for Gage's team. And that's all of our stuff through May. Exciting lineup. Our current standings right now, this might be a first for this podcast. I am currently in last place with 27 points, but only 2 games released. Just for clarity. Christian has now moved his way up to 3rd place with Saros' release, sitting at 30 points with 2 games released. And then we go up to Gage sitting in 2nd with 67 points, and that is from 5 games released. And Rowe currently sits in 1st, but I don't think it's going to be for very long because he has 71 points, just 4 above Gage, but he has 7 games released. And that's our fantasy critic check-in. Jumping over to what you got for me, Daniel. What do you have? Same old shit. Another day, same old shit. I played more Arc Raiders. Actually, with you this past weekend, doing trials, and still playing a bit of that. I have not played the new update yet. I don't know if you've played it yet. I guess we'll find out here in a minute. But I do want to check out that new update as well at some point. So I think
that's it. No marathon?
I think that's all I got. Honestly, I don't even know if I played marathon this week. It's just been a hectic week for me. So
fair enough.
Yeah. Did we play? We played Super Battle Golf too. Oh, we did. Yes.
Here we go.
Here we go. We must revise what we said about Super Battle Golf, because I think Super Battle Golf might just be the game of the year this year, because
holy shit, what a turnaround.
Dan played 2 games of Super Battle Golf with the illustrious team of Gage, myself, friend of the show, Justin. Wait, was it Justin? Yeah.
Yep.
Was Christian with us on that?
No, it was Ryan.
Okay, and then Ryan. And all I heard for weeks was about how good Ryan was. And I just want to be here to say I came in 1st place in both matches. And you know what, Ryan? You ain't shit.
Holy shit. Ryan, are you going to let him say that? Ryan, are you going to let him talk like that?
Game of the year, though. I mean, that game, it is a lot more fun with more people. I will say I feel like that it was much more spread out. Like there was one point we were looking at leaderboards and we were all like neck and neck with each other.
There was like I want to say it was 10 holes back to back where like the biggest gap between two people was like 30 points. Like it was really
it's really definitely more fun and competitive with more people. So I'm 100% with you on that and glad that I played again with you guys.
Yep. Excellent game.
Excellent. Gage, what you got for me?
A lot, like you said, we got some Arc Raider trial going in. We're making sure we got our hot shot for the season, which we did.
We did.
And then for me, just a lot of Gray Zone Warfare, which is still eating up a lot of my time. Very fun. And Hades 2. Still working away at Hades 2 as well.
So, yeah.
Which is also still fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, you guys keep trying to beg me to buy Gray Zone Warfare.
It's true. It's true.
Does not look like a Dan game. I don't.
Any game could be a Dan game if you put your heart into it.
What the fuck?
If you believe in yourself, you can achieve anything.
Yeah. Yes. Fucking Dark Souls. I was told that about Dark Souls. I bought that game 3 times and fucking hated it every time. Ugh.
You could get into Dark Souls. You could do it.
No, I couldn't. You ain't fooling me a 4th time. I've been fooled 3 times on that game. Ugh. All right, Gage. That does it for our show then. Thank you again to everyone joining us live on YouTube and Twitch, as well as podcast services everywhere, including Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Spotify, and everywhere else you get your podcasts. Thank you, Gage. Thank you, Ro, who will return. I am Daniel, and this has been Podcast PXN, and we are out. Much love, and keep on gaming.
Adios.